What is going on, everyone? And Summon Skull fans, please put your hands up in the air and rejoice because your Dark Lord finally has his own deck. Now, he has always had support in Rush Duel, but now Summon Skull can be its very own standalone deck that can fight, and it's super control heavy. It seems like it's going to be super fun to use, so let's go over these brand new cards. First, we have Archfiend Shaman, a level 4 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1000 attack and 1200 defense points. And let me just put it out there, all these monsters are going to have 1200 defense points, so maybe I should even go through saying the defense anymore. For the effect, we have the requirement: send one Dark Fiend monster from your hand to the graveyard. Effect, draw one card, then you can choose one face a level 3 or higher monster your opponent's field and decrease its level by 2 until the end of the turn. Now, some of you might be thinking, why would you want to decrease the level of monsters in Rush Duel? Now, for you OG Rush Duel fans and know about the meta, you know decreasing levels is actually really good because it makes monsters more susceptible to certain effects. As you know, monsters that are usually level 9 or higher are very much immune to a lot of cards in this game. So bringing down monsters to a lower level where they can actually be targeted by certain card effects is super important, and it makes removal a lot better for those monsters. Next, we have Archfiend Messenger, level 4 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1300 attack and of course that solid 1200 defense points. Requirement: if there's a face of Summon Skull on your field. Effect: choose one face down card your opponent controls and destroy it. Free removal just by having Summon Skull. You don't have to get rid of anything. You just have to play your legend monster or a monster that counts as Summon Skull. And we already have Summon Skull himself. We have another monster that's a level 7 monster that counts as Summon Skull. And guess what? We're gonna get another one that's gonna count as Summon Skull. So you're gonna be able to pull up this effect pretty often in this deck, trust me. Next, we have Archfiend Spear Soldier, a level 6 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1800 attack and 1200 defense. Requirement: if there's a face-up Summon Skull on your field during the turn this card is normal summon, choose one monster your opponent controls and destroy it, then you can draw one card. So the fact that this is a monster that requires tribute doesn't even matter because you're removing a card from your opponent's board. Plus, you're drawing one card. So you're pretty much supplementing the fact that you even had to tribute to bring out this card in the first place, while also removing a card from your opponent's field. And remember, you just need to have Summon Skull. If you're playing the original Summon Skull, it's a single tribute monster. So you can pretty much do this in one turn very easily. Next, we have the brand new boss monster for the deck, and that is Skull Archfiend of Confusion, a level 7 Dark Fiend effect monster with 2500 attack and 1200 defense. It has a ruling effect that this card's name while in the hand or graveyard is Summon Skull. This means that any card effect that requires Summon Skull to be in the graveyard, you will be able to use on this card, and while in the hand, you can also use it for fusions. You see, in a Red Eyes deck, you could just play this card, and this card is Summon Skull in the hand. You never actually need to summon it, meaning that you can go into your Black Skull Dragon and the effect version if you really want to, just by running this Summon Skull proxy card. Moving on to the effect, the requirement is send one Dark Fiend monster from your hand to the graveyard. Effect: this card's name becomes Summon Skull during this turn, which is amazing. That means you can use all the cards that require you to use Summon Skull while on the field, which is pretty much all the other monsters we've seen so far. Then you can take control of one face-up level 8 or lower monster in your opponent's field except the maximum monster, which of course you can't take over a maximum monster because if they have 3 pieces on the field, then you're going to be replacing your Summon Skull, which would be odd in terms of ruling. Now granted, the opponent could have a maximum monster in the field that's not in maximum mode, but I guess just to not go through any of the rigmarole, they just said a maximum monster in general, which is perfectly okay. Also, this card targets a level 8 or lower monster for the effect. And remember, our first monster is going to be able to decrease a monster's level by 2. So all those level 9 and 10 fusion monsters, well, too bad, because now you're going to be taking control of by this monster because your level has been decreased, making you susceptible to the confusion of Summon Skull. And mind you, it takes control of that monster forever. It is not until the end phase of the turn. You own that monster. This is really cool because it reminds you so much of the Golden Sarcophagus version of Summon Skull that takes control of opponent's monster when it's summoned, but instead, this is actually permanent. Next, we have a fusion monster, Archfiend's Manifestation, and if this card looks familiar to you, well, it should, because this card already exists in the regular game. It's a level 6 Dark Fiend fusion effect monster with 2500 attack and 1200 defense. The material is Summon Skull plus 1 Dark monster. The requirement is none and it has a continuous effect. This card's name is Summon Skull. face-up Summon Skull on your field gain 500 attack. So all your Summon Skull monsters are at least going to be at 3,000 attack points, and you already have so much control aspects with this deck that it's already insane. You're going to have these huge beaters, and you're just going to be removing cards from your opponent's board. That is freaking awesome. In the original game, no one will ever possibly play this card unless you're playing some weird Summon Skull Layer of Darkness deck where you're going to super poly your opponent's cards. Trust me, that's not a deck. I just thought of that right now. I might actually try running that in Master Duel, but maybe I should. That would actually be pretty funny. But it's a card that no one would normally run. But in Rush Duel, this is a bomb card because so many cards need Summon Skull to be face up on the field in order to do those effects, and this card is Summon Skull, so that totally works. Not to mention that powered up by 500 is really huge in Rush Duel. That 3,000 attack is going to run over so many things. Lastly, we have a trap card called Archfiend's Thunderbolt. It's a normal trap card requirement. If there's a face-up level 6 or higher Dark Fiend monster on your field when your opponent normal summons a monster, the effect, choose one card on your opponent's field and destroy it. So it doesn't even have to destroy the monster that was summoned. You can just destroy any one card you want as long as your opponent plays a monster. You don't even have to give up anything. You just need to be playing your Summon Skull deck the way it's meant to be played, just by throwing out your Summon Skulls, and then that's it. You just go and start popping away cards. Overall, Summon Skull, like I said, very control oriented. They're pretty much going to keep removing your opponent's cards, and you have plenty of monsters that count as Summon Skull despite the fact that the original version is a legend monster. So it doesn't really run into the problems of Dark Magician, where so many cards require Dark Magician to do certain things, but Dark Magician has no proxies for it. It's only one monster that ever counts as Dark Magician, and that's himself. But Summon Skull has multiple cards that can count as Summon Skull, so you can perform all of these effects a lot easier in the deck, and the deck can function a lot better. Now some of you might be saying, well, how does this work with Red Eyes? Well, you have to pick and choose. These are meant to be two separate decks, but you're supposed to be mixing in the proxy versions for each monster into each other's deck. So for Red Eyes deck, you want to put in a card that counts as Summon Skull. You're not trying to implement the Summon Skull strategy into Red Eyes, and vice versa. You want to put in something like Red Eyes Moondragon into the Summon Skull deck so it can count as Red Eyes, so you can perform the fusions as well. So Summon Skull fans out there, let me know what you guys think about these brand new cards. I think it's awesome that Summon Skull, after all these years, is finally the boss monster of his own deck instead of just being a piece in a deck. You know how Summon Skull was just a part of the Archfiend deck, how Summon Skull was just a basic normal monster, or maybe some cards like Makyu, the Magical Mist, or it was just a part of the Red Eyes deck, or part of the Golden Sarcophagus deck. Now Summon Skull is the big bad boss monster. So let me know what you guys think about these brand new cards. Until next time, people, peace out.